Gildan Media, a division of Recorded Books, presents Cybersmart: 5 Habits to Protect Your Family, Money, and Identity from Cybercriminals. By Bart R. McDonough. Narrated by Tait. Statement of Purpose. Cybersecurity is one of the most important and most disregarded aspects of our daily responsibilities. Technology has overtaken our lives. The pervasiveness of the internet has affected how we do almost everything, from communicating to banking. Drawing on his extensive work with hedge funds, private equity firms, celebrities, hospitals, and more, Bart McDonough accurately and thoroughly describes the cybersecurity threat landscape, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and then helps listeners understand how to perform proper use, care, and feeding of accounts and devices to avoid exposure in many areas of daily life. Just as people must tend themselves to maintain their health, so too should they practice proper cyber hygiene with websites, software, and devices to protect themselves and their families in a world of cyber threats. As an expert in the cybersecurity field, McDonough has traveled around the world speaking at conferences for the FBI, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Citibank, Credit Suisse, Jefferies, Bank of America, and others, where he addresses crucial cybersecurity recommendations for businesses. However, the most common question he receives from the attendees at these conferences is, how can I protect myself at home, on a personal level, away from the office? Addressing this very question in this book, McDonough combines his extensive industry knowledge with real-world examples of cyber attacks and how to prevent them, as well as how to recover from them. The idea of identity theft and other forms of cyber attacks can be daunting to the average person in today's society. However, it does not have to be that way. With the proper knowledge, outlined as the 5 Brilliance in the Basics habits in this book, everyone can learn better practices to help prevent bad actors from taking advantage of their money, personal information, and devices. Moreover, the more people who protect themselves, the better off everyone is. While there are several books out there that address the topic of cybersecurity, the majority of these focus on security for businesses and corporations. Few are intended to teach individuals in the general public how properly to protect their money, identities, personal information, devices, networks, and online experiences. Cybersmart focuses exclusively on this audience. Written in plain English and using everyday relatable examples, McDonough helps listeners easily understand how they can personally update their approaches to internet and device safety. And he does this through a positive, proactive style. While other comparable titles focus on fear-based conditioning, Cybersmart focuses instead on maintaining the idea that, while these technological advances have risks, there is no reason not to take advantage of them, as long as you do it with open eyes and an awareness of how to keep your information safe. Introduction. As technology advances and we adopt new cloud-based services, wearables, fitness trackers, smart home appliances, and cars, we need to balance our rapid consumption of technology with vital knowledge of how to safely use, maintain, and protect these internet-connected products. Protecting our identities from the onslaught of endless cyber scams and hackers has become an exhausting effort. It can feel like we need a technical degree to defend ourselves and our families from cybersecurity attacks and ensure we're secure in our day-to-day personal and professional lives. Since we don't hear these cyber attacks knocking at our door, or receive real-time evidence of our sensitive information circulating the underbelly of the web, it's hard to grasp how vulnerable we are at any given moment. And when, in this book, you learn how to find your exposed information on the internet and discover you've been breached, it can feel like there's nothing you can do to protect your and your family's leaked Social Security numbers, passwords, and more. I am here to tell you there is hope. In this book, you'll learn how to practice the essential cybersecurity habits to protect your family from bad actors. Technology advancement brings opportunities, but it also creates risk, making it necessary to teach ourselves proper use, care, and feeding of our devices. If we don't, we risk significant exposure in many areas of our life. Similar to caring for ourselves, we must practice proper cyber hygiene with websites, software, and devices. We know we spend a ton of time online, but we may not realize how our heavy internet usage can increase our risk of falling victim to cyber criminals. It's as easy as visiting a website with infected ads that harvest our computer's CPU power so bad actors can mine highly profitable Bitcoin cryptocurrency, typing credit card numbers into legitimate-looking spoofed websites, or accidentally downloading ransomware from a linked funny cat video our friend sent us. We devote a lot of time and energy to these online interactions. If we neglect the use, care, and feeding of technology and our presence in cyberspace, we risk letting bad actors run rampant, infecting and sabotaging our cyber comforts, wiping out years of family photos and personal files to ransomware demands in the thousands of dollars, or repeatedly using and abusing our identity. If we lived in a bad neighborhood with a high level of crime, we would take the necessary precautions to protect ourselves, our family, and our belongings. We are mindful of our surroundings. We lock our doors, install extra locks, don't carry loads of cash on us, and so forth. However, when we are in a good neighborhood with low crime, we tend to be more relaxed around our physical safety precautions. When it comes to our cyber lives, we all live in a bad neighborhood, and we all need to practice essential cyber hygiene precautions, or else we play a risky game of cyber roulette to see how much we think we can get away with before the neighborhood bad actors succeed in their cyber attacks against us. Then it's game over, or at the least, we experience a lot of unnecessary frustration, embarrassment, expense, and cleanup. This is not said to scare you. It is to help prepare you to have the right mindset when you are online. My primary goal is to share real stories of people like you, victims of common cyber attacks, and then provide specific recommendations you can use to protect yourself against cyber attacks and scams. The secret to practicing cybersecurity is what I call Brilliance in the Basics. 5 crucial cybersecurity habits that I recommend you perform regularly. Brilliance in the Basics habits. 1. Update your devices. 2. Enable two-factor authentication. 3. Use a password manager. 4. Install and update antivirus. 5. Back up your data. Performing these 5 basic, recurring cyber hygiene principles will work to prevent cyber attacks and serve as a cure for prevalent cybersecurity issues. I will show you how to manage your internet presence safely, as well as your technology usage, so you can continue to enjoy the pleasures and opportunities that come with the cyberspace you love. You'll discover more about the Brilliance in the Basics cyber hygiene habits in Chapter 7. Debunking cybersecurity myths. I will also address and dispel popular cybersecurity myths throughout the book. Recognize any of these? Hacking myths. Why bother doing anything? If a hacker wants to get me, they will. I mean, huge companies and the U.S. government get hacked. I can't do anything to protect myself. It's a lost cause. Bad actors aren't interested in my data. I'm not a celebrity or public figure. I don't have anything of value to them. Websites wouldn't steal my computer's CPU power to mine cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, just by visiting them. The applications in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store are safe. I can't download bank account stealing malware from a simple crossword puzzle app, can I? I'm not worried about ransomware. Law enforcement will catch the adversary and get my files back, right? File storage and the cloud myths. I don't store my information in the cloud because it's not safe. I store my files in the cloud already using Apple iCloud and Google Drive. They back up my files, right? I perform backups to an external hard drive that's always plugged into my computer. My files are protected. Password management myths. Remembering and keeping up with fancy passwords is too difficult. There's no way I can do it for every site I use. Two-factor authentication takes too long. As long as I have a strong, unique password for each account, I am secure. Cloud-based password managers aren't secure. Web browsing myths. Websites with the lock symbol in the URL are safe to use. Public Wi-Fi is secure if it requires a password. Email account myths. It's not necessary for me to create a separate email just for banking if I have a strong password for my bank account, even if I use the same password for my email account too. I don't have anything of interest to the adversary in my email account. Good luck reading all my boring emails. Email providers like Google or Yahoo aren't making money from my email conversation with my spouse. Identity theft myths. Credit monitoring and fraud alerts will protect me from identity theft. I don't need to activate a security freeze. My child doesn't have a credit history. Their identity won't get stolen, and their credit score won't be damaged. I don't shred sensitive documents when I throw them out. No one would sift through my garbage to steal my identity. I connect with anyone who sends me a friend request on LinkedIn. We're all professionals here, not scammers. I trust my doctor's office with my Social Security number when they request it. They need it for vital reasons, right? I can't be denied critical medication at a hospital just because someone stole my identity and tampered with my medical files, can I? I trust retailers and gas stations to protect their card swipe or dip machines from skimmers that steal card numbers. By learning the facts, you can set the record straight and safeguard yourself and your family. Cyber awareness will be like second nature. In fact, let's dive in and dispel one myth right now. Myth. Why bother doing anything? If a hacker wants to get me, they will. I mean, huge companies and the U.S. government get hacked. I can't do anything to protect myself. It's a lost cause. Fact. You can safeguard yourself from the vast majority of threats. It takes only a few steps, which I list in the ensuing chapters. By learning to protect yourself, you will take a bite out of cybercrime. You'll emerge a newfound brilliance in the basics expert and be ready to share your learned cybersecurity hygiene basics with others. We need to work together to defend our privacy, security, money, and peace of mind. It's our right to enjoy what technology and the internet have to offer. The last thing we should do is to admit defeat and compromise these fundamental liberties by surrendering our security, and, along with it, our personal information, assets, and identity. Protecting our security does not necessarily mean we have something to hide. It's the preservation of our identities and those of our loved ones. This includes our money, medical records, credit files, devices, online presence, and more. Cyber threats influence every part of our lives. We must implement proper cyber hygiene habits accordingly. And that starts here. How to use this book to outsmart bad actors. This book gives a detailed portrayal of the current cybersecurity landscape and its threats, and it explores how we, as adult professionals, can protect ourselves and our families as more of our life duties move online via internet-connected devices. Throughout my experience providing cybersecurity training to thousands of business professionals, I observed a growing need among the participants to learn how they can secure themselves on a personal level, in addition to safeguarding business operations. It became apparent the cybersecurity community was focusing primarily on business executives and overall business security, leaving a shortage of cybersecurity guidance made available for us as individuals. We are the fabric making up a business, and we are the ones sitting on the other side of the company computer. The focus in this book will be on closing the personal cybersecurity guidance gap. I will share the basic cybersecurity habits you need to protect your and your family's online assets and identity, personally and professionally. I designed this book in 2 parts. Part 1, Setting the Stage, and Part 2, Specific Recommendations. Part 1. Setting the Stage. In this part, I define some common cybersecurity terms and provide an overview of cyber risk that poses a threat to our families and ourselves. After that, we learn more about who is the adversary, their main goals and targets, and their attack methods and weapons of choice. Next, I cover the brilliance in the basics, the 5 core habits that serve as an ounce of cyber attack prevention worth a pound of cybersecurity cure. Finally, I touch on some grave mistakes we can make without realizing we've made them, like an accidental data breach. I conclude Part 1 with detailed incident response steps you can take if you encounter the unfortunate: ransomware, spam, email compromise, and more. Part 2. Specific Recommendations. In this part, you'll find helpful, straightforward steps to begin protecting your identity, money, email, files, social media, website access, passwords, computers, mobile devices, home network, Internet of Things or IoT devices, as well as your information while traveling. Throughout each chapter, you will notice a few features: accounts of cyber attack and scam victims, segments on popular cybersecurity myths, and straightforward and practical cybersecurity recommendations. These accounts are real stories about attacks, scams, or methods of defense. While I include quite a few, they are just the tip of the iceberg. Many dangers are lurking in cyberspace, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting targets who don't know how to protect themselves adequately. In addition to these real-world stories, I include specific, actionable recommendations outlining how you can stay safe in the midst of frequent and severe cybersecurity attacks. By actively applying the handful of key, learned defense techniques to your day-to-day personal and professional life, you will be practicing what some of the most secure people in the world do. I also address popular cybersecurity myths to which we've all fallen prey, believing at one time or another. We've already tackled the first of these myths in this introduction. Going beyond just addressing these myths, in this book I provide the facts on which you'll need to focus to protect yourself and your loved ones with clarity and efficiency, so you can continue enjoying all that the Internet has to offer. How to contact the author. You can contact Bart McDonough by visiting his personal website, bartmcd.com. That's bartmcd.com, where you will find his latest thoughts and links to the most current social media posts. Download. Go to wiley.com/go/cybersmart. That's wiley.com/go/cybersmart to download a brief reminder of Brilliance in the Basics habits you can keep with you everywhere. Part 1. Setting the Stage. Chapter 1. Overview of Cyber Risks. William and Nancy Skog had cherry-picked an impeccable, perfect riverfront residence in Wilmington, Illinois. Exhilarated by the thought of moving into their dream home, the Skogs could practically see their new lives, watching the tranquil riverboats cruise by and listening to the water birds sing. There was one final step needed to finalize their purchase: wire $307,000 in closing costs to their real estate attorneys. Having received an email with payment instructions sent from what looked like a legal assistant at the firm, William and Nancy wired over their entire life savings, $307,000. Their new life was about to begin. Days later, however, the couple sat across from their lawyer at the closing table and learned their payment never arrived. The Skogs immediately panicked. If their attorneys didn't get the money, who did? Let's take a closer look at the details of the wire transfer scam. All $307,000 of the Skogs' hard-earned cash had vanished without a trace. Fraudsters impersonating their real estate attorneys had pocketed the entire wire transfer. Almost everything in the closing cost email the Skogs had received looked genuine. The email signatures appeared authentic because the bad actor copied and pasted the real one. The file attachment had the attorney's actual letterhead, and the details of the real estate transaction were accurate. How could a bad actor obtain all of this information? A variety of attack methods and vectors could have been used, including compromising one or more email accounts of those involved in the transaction, pretending to be a prospective client and emailing the firm to obtain a response, and thus an email signature, or finding the attorney's letterhead via an internet search. Bad actors use automated hacking software that scans data breach dumps for email addresses of people working in a specific industry, such as real estate. Once they collect a list of email addresses, they send phishing emails, an email-based social engineering attack, to obtain the victim's email account password fraudulently. Once they have the password and successfully gain access, they research and monitor real estate transactions in flux. When the timing is right, bad actors send an email to home buyers with new wire transfer instructions. It can be easy for victims to believe the malicious email is legitimate, since it can actually be sent from the authentic, hacked account of one of the real parties involved. The best method of protection is to not trust email, and to be extremely cautious when receiving emails requesting money. Despite the scam's convincing elements, there were indicators something was wrong. The fraudulent email used unorthodox sentence structure, such as, "and have us set ready your closing." Notice anything yet? But beyond suspicious grammar, what could have tipped the Skogs off to the fake email sent by the bad actor? The sender's email address and links might have contained clues. Hovering over any links in the email could have produced red flags, like different or similar-looking URL addresses. For example, realestate.com versus the malicious URL realestate-co. radio.com. Next, the circumstances themselves were reason enough to be wary. Cyber attackers and scammers target their victims in moments of heightened emotion. People are often distracted and/or overwhelmed when scared or elated. In the case of the Skogs, the adversary recognized an opportunity when the Skogs were buying their dream home, a scary and thrilling life event. It was the perfect storm of emotions to render the Skogs vulnerable and allow the scammers to steal the couple's hard-earned life savings successfully when they least expected it. The couple's only saving grace was their daughter, who purchased the home for them. The Skogs' tremendous loss to real estate wire transfer fraud is indicative of a growing epidemic. In 2016, the FBI found that $19 million in real estate transactions were diverted or attempted to be diverted by bad actors, and that amount increased to practically $1 billion in 2017, a 5,163% increase in just 1 year. The cruelest part of real estate wire transfer fraud is the rare chance of ever recovering stolen funds. According to James Barnacle, chief of the FBI's money laundering unit, "I don't want to set false expectations for consumers. The chance of recovery here is slim." Real estate wire transfer fraud prevention steps. Now that you've learned the life-shattering reality of real estate wire transfer fraud, here are some essential prevention steps. Before performing a wire transfer, confirm the exact closing instructions with your real estate broker, attorney, or both, in person, over video, or on the phone. Remember to validate their phone number first. Verify all emails received are genuine. Look out for red flags indicating a phishing email attack, and be suspicious of clicking any email links or opening any file attachments. You will learn more about phishing email attacks in Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, as well as how to protect your email in Chapter 12. Review other payment options that can potentially provide more protection than a wire transfer, like a cashier's check. Initiate a test wire transfer for $100 and confirm the intended recipient received the wire transfer. Don't use insecure Wi-Fi to access or send email communications about sensitive transactions. Secure your email account with two-factor authentication and use a strong and unique password for each of your accounts. Consider using a secure method of file transfer and storage. Use a paid version of Box.com or similar trusted cloud environment. This will allow you to transfer files securely and control which email addresses can access the files. Check to see whether your financial institution has insurance available for purchase to protect you from wire transfer fraud liability. Banks are just starting to sell policies for wire transfer fraud protection up to a certain amount. Because there's no standardized, one-size-fits-all policy, check the fine print for variations among banks. If you're a victim of wire transfer fraud. If you've fallen victim to a real estate wire transfer scam, here are immediate incident response recommendations. Call the bank that sent the transfer to discuss your options. Alert the bank on the receiving end to discuss your options. Notify local law enforcement and file a police report. Notify your local FBI field office and file a complaint. Visit the FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3, and file a complaint online at ic3.gov. That's ic3.gov. Real estate wire transfer fraud is just one example of the many common and devastating cyber risks we face. Cyber attacks are growing and evolving at a staggering rate. But by continually practicing the handful of basic protection techniques you'll soon learn, you can strengthen your cybersecurity with ease.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?